guys seeing that? Amazing recoil impulse. Oh, I can see him. Oh, dude. 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 Now that's interesting. Damn, that feels so good. I can't even explain. Today we're talking about the Delta-tek Russian-made muzzle devices. And I'm going to keep saying muzzle device because I really don't know what to call these things, and you'll understand why in the video. They're extremely unique things to put on the end of your AK, and they really are purposely made for AKs, although they do have some that just came out that were meant for ARs. We'll talk about that later. But Delta-tek is a brand and a type of muzzle device that was pretty well known several years back. They were coming in regularly from Russia. This is before tensions heated up between Russia and Ukraine and a lot of stuff stopped coming in. But the Delta-tek muzzle device was a pretty cool flex to have on an AK if you had like it all. It was all alphaed out with Zenitco stuff, and if you had like a KP9 with all the Zenitco. But they kind of had this thing about them, like if you know, you know. And I'll tell you a brief story of how I found out about Delta-tek, and then we'll get into this video. I was at Kalash Bash, this little Christmas event that we used to do back in the day, and I remember there was a bunch of people there shooting their AKs, and I was walking down the firing line, and I saw a guy that had a KR9. That's the KP9 from KUSA that had the full-length 16-inch barrel. He had the full-length barrel, and he had like the Zenitco sport rail on it, so it was just this really nice, tricked-out KR9, and he was shooting it, and I thought, oh man, that can sounds really good. That sounds pretty good for such a small can. So I remember walking up to him and I was like, dude, that sounds good. That can, what kind of can is that? And I remember he looks at me and he goes, that's not a can, it's a Delta-tek. And I was like, okay, I think I've heard of that, but it sounds good. He says, nah, dude, that's a muzzle device. But on a 16-inch barrel, it sounds very good, if you know what I'm saying. And I was like, So I started doing some research and I found out about these Russian-made muzzle devices called Delta-teks, and at the time I only knew of the 9mm version. I don't know if there was a full rifle caliber version back then, but he had the 9mm version, and I'm telling you, on that gun I was blown away at how good, I think you know what I'm trying to say here, how good it sounded while just being a muzzle device that you could buy and just have. It's not an NFA item, and I was pretty impressed by that. Unfortunately, shortly thereafter, all that stuff stopped coming in because of the Ukrainian conflict, and these things have pretty much become completely unobtainium. PSA kind of made a clone that was not at all made in the same way. It really just fit the aesthetic, but internally was completely different. All of a sudden, Delta-tek pops up out of nowhere, hops on everyone's radar. They have a website, and they're available again. And after talking to the people at Delta-tek, they assured me these are the exact same ones. They're made in Russia. We put our own branding on them, so the engraving looks a little different, but they are Russian made. They are the same. I don't know ipso facto how they sell them here, but they are. So they, you know, they're available. Anyway, I have a couple of them here. Not only do I have the really cool 9mm version, the rifle version for 5.45, 7.62, and 5.56 in 14x1 left hand with the same multi-tooth lockup for a spring-loaded detent. And we're going to shoot the piss out of both of them. You're probably seeing this one, seeing I've already shot the piss out of both of them. You'll see all that footage soon, but these things are impressively interesting feeling. It's just a completely different experience. And hey, by the way, if you like AKs and you like AK culture, being around other AK people and seeing what's hot, what's new in the AK industry, Kalash Bash is right around the corner. And if you're into competitive shooting, we still have tickets for our subgun competition. The full rifle match is sold out, but we also have a corresponding subgun competition. Not only 9mm AKs, any 9mm subgun is allowed. So if you don't have one of these, if you don't have a KR9, KP9, it doesn't matter. We're letting any 9mm subgun in. You'll be in your own division. We'll keep all the AKs separate. But it's just a way to come out to Kalash Bash and still get a taste of what competition is like. And there are so many 9mm AKs to choose from and other subguns. There's really no reason not to shoot it. If you already have a match ticket for the rifle match and you want to shoot the subgun match, You can shoot both. That's totally allowed, totally fine. We have a lot of prizes dedicated to both competitions. And of course, if you don't want to compete at all, the majority of people that come to Kalash Bash are just buying general admission tickets. They're coming out, they're hanging out with vendors, and they're walking away with tens of thousands of dollars of prizes spread out over 1,000 attendees. We have a full concert going on at the campsite, and we're actually here at the property now. In this bay behind me, you'll probably see someone like Meridian Defense, IWI, Century Arms, Palmetto State Armory, Stuff and Things, all gonna be here at Kalash Bash with like 55 other vendors. Tons of people, there's ton to see, ton to experience. If you like AKs, this is the largest AK event in the country. I know that was a long ad, but I really want you guys to know about it so you can come experience it. You really have to see it for yourself. All right, back to the video. Keep in mind, this gun bleeds off a little more gas than most AKs, but yeah. Now that's interesting. It honestly feels, it kind of feels like a flow through you know what, because my recoil is very low, like lower than it's been even with a brake on it. That's interesting. K&S piston is fully closed, and you can see it's running like a finely tuned AK. That's different. Not too sure what's going on there, but just in the few shots that we've done, you can already see the holes on the muzzle device. You can see like the gas starting to blow out of those holes and cause these streaks running down the can. You can really see it on the tan one. Interesting. Wow. Let me go fast. It feels very much, and this is the first mag, it feels very much like I've got a flow through you know what on the end, and I've got like tuned gas. I know this AK like the back of my hand, and even with the piston fully closed, it doesn't shoot that soft. Wow. All right. If you've ever shot a full powered cartridge without your ears on, you know you instantly regret it. It's instantly just hee in your ear. Not that. Definitely not something I would run without ear pro more than like a few shots, but dude, if you're like in a deer blind and you don't have a you know what that requires paperwork and all that, and you had this on your gun, those first few shots would be totally comfortable, but not much more after that. That's pretty damn cool. Let me fire one more with both ears exposed. Doing this for you guys. Yeah, it's still really loud, but not as loud as it would be. I don't have the crazy ringing. Now, I wonder what it sounds like on 5.56. I don't have a 5.56 AK with this thread pitch right now to test it, but I'm curious to see how much it would knock down on that. 7.62 though, I would say it's good enough to run in a deer blind for a few shots without needing to wear ears. That's pretty cool. You guys seeing that? Amazing recoil impulse. Very nice. Wow. Man, that feels so good. Damn, it feels so good. I can't even explain. It feels so good. Let's just rattle off what's left in the mag. Empty, empty. Wow. Wow. I was not expecting to feel such a good recoil impulse. But when this thing cools down, I did bring another AK out here that has no tuned gas. I know what people are going to say, well, you've got a K&S piston in there. So I've got another AK that's a typical overgassed gun, but it has a cool little party trick that I thought would be cool with this muzzle device. But I got to let that thing cool down first, and then we'll try it out. Okay, let's feel the recoil impulse on an M70 with full gas. Yeah, punchy as a normal AK is, so let's go ahead and put that muzzle device on and see if we can tell any difference in recoil. It feels like it has less recoil. Let me get another mag. Man, feels really good. Man. A cool party trick that the M70 has is the gas shutoff. This one's very tight, but I wanted to see what this gun felt like specifically with this muzzle device, and the gas completely shut off, so the action will not cycle. See what it feels like. Huh. I wouldn't say anything special, but feels kind of cool. I'm going to attempt fate yet again and listen to that shot without ears, but the gas is shut off, so let's just see. I would say deer blind safe. Kind of has the same tone, not super high pitch. I don't have the ringing. It's really not that bad. Definitely rings a bit more with both ears off, but still, man, if I had to take a couple shots in a deer blind, that ain't bad. Especially with this thing with the gas shut off. Pretty cool. All right, 30 rounds. Not bad, not bad. Low recoil, no baffle strikes. Still tight because of the teeth system. Pretty ring cool, dude. This gun was really not that pleasant to shoot, but way more pleasant now. Awesome. One thing I wanted to try, I've been sitting on these things for a while. I didn't really have a good reason to use them. I've got 5 rounds of 7.62 x 39 tracers from Black Tip Tactical, a local company here in the Houston area. And I don't know, just something about this muzzle device, I thought it'd be kind of cool to see tracers. Now granted, we're in broad daylight. Most tracers don't even ignite until like 50, 75, sometimes 100 yards. So we may or may not be able to see them. I've got another camera angle down there. We're only shooting at like 25 yards because I want to actually hit the steel. Let's see. Oh, I can see him. Oh, dude. 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 I could see those. God, I hope that shows up on camera, man. I could see those clear as day. It looked like a laser beam going down range. That was cool. I hope it shows up on the footage. So 100 round mag dump and the muzzle device is fine. Does not loosen off because of those teeth. We have no baffle strikes. This one being tan, it's getting very dirty. But I'm so impressed, man, at the recoil impulse. It's different. Doesn't really feel like a muzzle brake. It's like it feels like a combination between a muzzle brake and like a flow through, you know what. It just, not really, haven't really felt anything like that before. It's definitely not a booster. This doesn't feel like a booster at all. Boosters actually boost the back pressure and add recoil typically, which is why I don't really like them. This, it's got all the holes through it and you can see where the gas is traveling. Never felt anything like that before. This is like a totally unique thing. And back when Delta-teks were coming in, you know, years ago, before the whole Russo-Ukrainian war really popped off, these things were around, but I never shot one on a full-size gun. Of course, I'd seen the one with a 9mm, and I was like, holy crap, that sounds good for what it is and what it's not. Never experienced a rifle-rated one, but I'm here to tell you that is a very interesting recoil impulse. Definitely less recoil than without it. And the sound, man. I don't know if there's anything else on the market quite like this. If there is, please let me know, because I don't know about it. But of course, you know, the third thing that's really cool about it is the aesthetic. These things are meant for AK specifically. This one's 14x1 left hand. I'm really hoping they make a 24mm one. Delta-tek, if you're listening, really need a 24mm thread adapter for these. And of course, the 9mm 1/2x28 with the locking teeth is really meant for like KP9s and AKVs, and a 1/2x28 AK that has the spring-loaded detent. That's what the teeth are for. So these are really meant for AKs, and they're all Russian made. They've always been meant for AKs. So aesthetically, that looks really freaking cool. It looks tits. Looks super sick on that 9mm too. Of course, you have to talk about the elephant in the room, and that's the price. These things are not cheap at all. These things are more expensive than some suppressors out there. That's up to you to decide, man. The price is what it is. I don't think this stuff's very easy to get in. Nothing AK related is cheap anymore. It just is what it is. But I can tell you, even though it is very expensive, that's a completely different shooting experience than any muzzle device I've ever felt. It is not a booster. It is not a suppressor. Very much not a suppressor. This is not an NFA item. But it seems to have benefits of a lot of different things. Muzzle brakes, flow through stuff. It's kind of crazy, man. It's pretty tits. You know, without ears on, there's no sting, it doesn't hurt. If I had to listen to that all day, it would be annoying, but that knocks it down a ton. No point of impact shift. I was hitting the same steel I was hitting with the can and the muzzle device. Weight-wise, you feel it a little bit, but nothing like that can. Haven't done that in a while. Man, it definitely sounds like a sub gun with a you-know-what on the end. That's pretty crazy. So between the two muzzle devices, I definitely think recoil impulse wise, you feel a bigger reduction with the full caliber 7.62 guns. However, sound wise, the biggest difference is with 9mm. Granted, it's a 9mm, doesn't have a whole lot of muzzle climb. This one has a bit more than a KP9. I've tested them side by side. It's direct blowback. The KP9 has a much better recoil impulse. The AKV does as well. This is just older gun, and that's just what it feels like. The recoil feels good. I won't say it makes it a lot better on 9mm, but that sound though, I should say this, it doesn't make the recoil any worse at all. If anything, it slightly improves it. And of course, a little bit of weight hanging off the front end on a very light gun definitely helps. That sound though is hard to deny, that it sounds really, really freaking good. And it's something that you can just buy and have. Now, again, the aesthetics. These are Russian-made muzzle devices, and you have to admit, all the stuff that the Russians are specifically making for AKs always seems to look very much right on an AK. Some American manufacturers make a lot of aftermarket that look a little off. So when you have an AK like this with AK-74 handguards, a Romanian crutch folder, a Romanian grip, ignore the Colt mags, but pretty traditional looking AK, right? That looks perfect on this thing. It just fits the vibe. It fits the Russian AK aesthetic that not a lot of stuff does. So it's an extremely unique shooting experience. But at the end of the day, if you care how it looks good on an AK. Russians just have a way of making things that we don't seem to replicate here. Very pragmatic, very purposeful, very different looking, but always looks very right on an AK. Round count today so far, I want to say we're around 300 rounds through this particular muzzle device, and has not loosened. The teeth with the detent make that completely impossible. It can never loosen. And even though it has a little bit of wobble, like every AK muzzle device has, no baffles, I'm not even gonna say that. There's no contact with the round on the can because there are no baffles in this. This is not a baffled thing. The end cap here, no strikes. Even when we were shooting down range, this gun suppressed with a muzzle brake, and this thing, the point of impact shift, I couldn't tell. I was hitting steel standing 35, 40 yards away with every single muzzle device, so there's no point of impact shift at all. I would say the same goes for the 7.62 gun. I didn't notice any impact shift. When it really threads on, it honestly feels like it's gonna be loose and it's gonna wiggle too much. Like right when you think it's tight, manhandle it one more notch. And every AK that I've tried that can on, when you really finally get to that last notch, it's tight. And it might just have the slightest left to right tilting action, but that is so common with AKs, even with like Wolverine suppressors that mount the exact same way that catch the detent. Even those sometimes have a little bit of left to right rotation, but they're fine. They can't back off. Same. I haven't had any concentricity issues at all. This is a huge muzzle device. With some AKs, even at this length, you probably should check them with an alignment rod just to be sure. And it's been perfectly fine on everything with what would sure seem to be a very crude lockup system, but it works very well. Those Russians, man, they're very pragmatic, purposeful. Things that look extremely crude, maybe they are, but they tend to always work exactly the way they were intended. And that lockup system is very much so in that vein of working the way it was intended. In conclusion, I've said it so many times in this video, I don't want to parrot myself too much, but both of these muzzle devices are so different than anything else on the market now. It's really kind of in a league of its own. It's totally different. The way it sounds, the way it feels, the way it honestly changes the gassing of the gun, the way it flows through, it has that same technology. Such a different thing, such a unique thing. I gotta give them both 2 thumbs up. I haven't had this much fun just shooting a different muzzle device. Like, I mean, I've reviewed so many muzzle devices on this page, so many. A brake is a brake, a flash hider is a flash hider, a suppressor is a suppressor. This seems to have attributes of all of those things, all in one package, a very expensive package. I know that's the elephant in the room, but it is that different. It really feels that different, and I'm sure it can't be that hard for the company to get these in the country because they went away for a while. They did, and when they went away for a while, they were trading for quite a bit of money on the used market. That's just what happens when cool AK stuff goes away, and it's never guaranteed to last. An imported AK, Zenit Co, 545, nothing's guaranteed to last. So if the cool stuff is coming in now, even if it's expensive, I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I'm just saying it never lasts. It never does. I wish the best for Delta-tek. I hope to stick around for a long time, but it didn't stick around very long last time. So, you know, that's just the way it goes with AKs. It's getting so hard to enjoy these things that it's kind of cool that some old special tech is making its way back into the country, and you don't need a tax stamp to own it. So there's that. Anyway, I think that's all I have for you. I appreciate you all watching. If you have any questions about these Delta-tek muzzle devices, they actually have an Instagram. I'll put it right there. They're really responsive. Anytime I've sent them DMs and asked them questions, he seems to be Johnny on the spot. And I'm really trying to talk them into Kalash Bash. I think they're gonna go, so you can come see them out there. And I don't even know what this dude looks like that runs Delta-tek. I don't know anything about the company. It's kind of a mystery still, but hopefully you can come see him in person. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments about these things. Are they too expensive? Probably. But how cool is it that they're available? Let's talk about that. And which one would you rather have? Do you think the 9mm subgun version's a better play? Or do you think the rifle version's a better play? Between the two, if I had to pick, if I only had enough money for one, which I kind of only have enough money for one, I think the rifle can was that good. It changed the recoil that much. The sound, it's rifle, what are you gonna do? But it changed the recoil impulse so much and made it feel so good on both AKs. If I only had one, it's that rifle version. But this one is still very freaking cool. Sound-wise, the rifle muzzle device can't touch this one. That's unbelievably cool that it's able to do that and that you don't need a tax stamp for it. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I love you. We'll see you next time.